Let's now bring in former FBI Special Agent Katherine Schweit in the conversation. Good evening and thanks for your time, Katherine. Your thoughts on this shocking and horrific killing?
I think it's a bad situation, as we all agree, but not just an assassination or assassination attempt, as we initially thought. We were hoping it would just be an attempt. It's really more of a bigger picture that talks about the political violence that we are facing here in the United States as we stop looking at what is going on instead of disagreeing and talking about it. Now we are acting that out. We've had several acts of political violence in the United States, and I think it's going to continue until we choose to lower the temperature.
Katherine, I'll come to the bigger picture in just a moment, but I want to understand from you, with what we know so far about this incident, how the shot was fired while Charlie Kirk was speaking about mass shootings, as I understand. What are you drawing from this incident?
Yeah, I think the shooter, we believe, was 200 yards away, so using a sniper rifle or something similar, but probably benched, meaning it was set down someplace so that it could be a certain kill shot. Clearly an intent to kill this individual in the way that a sniper would do that. So that's the sad part, right? We know that it was an intended act. Clearly shooter needed to get to some place where he or she could be undetected while the weapon was set down, and then when Kirk was in a position where he was sitting still enough, a single round to the neck.
So you think it was well orchestrated, well planned in the manner in which how this was conducted. Let's talk about Charlie Kirk and, of course, his work. A youth activist who spoke at both conventions of the president, had a podcast, was visiting universities, a powerful youth voice, a huge supporter of President Trump, as we know, Katherine. What does it tell you about the target, the motive?
Yeah, I hate to speculate too much about target and motive because some people might want to just be famous, and that's why they do it, right? And they look for a target. As we saw, the person who shot at now President Trump in Pennsylvania during the campaign really had thought about targeting his opponent at the time and some other political figures. So assuming this was the target and the intended target, I think it's a continuation of what we've seen of just violent acts against both Democratic and Republican political figures who speak out and say what they believe in, and instead of people believing that they can go to the polls and vote, they're acting out. It's such a tiny number of people who do this, but the results is what we see today.
Yeah, that's right. And also, let's talk about those things you were saying in your previous answer about the political tensions in the country and how divisive things stand, where there is no really much scope in terms of having a different opinion. Your take on what happens next, in terms of the political landscape and these sort of incidents?
Well, I heard somebody I heard somebody today say, "Wow, now this was a shooting at a Republican. Now there's going to be a shooting at a Democrat." Yeah, I don't necessarily think that's true. I think we are seeing political attacks against and attempts against politicians and their supporters. Charlie Kirk is obviously not a politician, but a supporter. But we're seeing the attacks against the politicians, too, on both sides of the aisle. I don't think it's necessarily a tit for tat. I think it is just a continuation of the violence that is escalating, particularly against politicians in the United States.
Katherine Schweit, former FBI Special Agent. Appreciate your time and insights, Katherine. Thank you for joining us on CTV News Channel.